Greetings, Mindcrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this glorious day. It's very beautiful here in northern Vermont, though it is about 1,000 degrees. So Giovanni and I came in to be in our little bit cooler kitchen to have this talk with you. So my name is Kimberly Quinn. Little G's over there, and I'll just share something with you that Giovanni went to the spa this morning, and he got a mani and a pedi. We only do it once a year. He's not a total frou-frou. Probably should start doing it twice. But he swims so much, he kind of gets dreads in his fur in the back. So he got all that taken care of. He's all neat and clean. And he came back once smelling like pumpkin spice. So there we go. So this actually rolls in beautifully to our topic of decide not to suffer anymore. It might sound ridiculous because you might say, why would anyone want to suffer? But ironically, people do, and it's not that they become comfortable. Well, they can become comfortable suffering, become comfortable, with not being treated well, not treating themselves well. So here's the 4 reasons. Okay, so I made notes to myself again. I'm in a notes jag this week. So typically, there are 4 reasons, and they're a little overlappy, I guess, a little bit, why people can get stuck in this pattern of self-inflicted suffering. Like the world, life gives us enough because that's the whole point, right? Is to grow spiritually in university, and it's like super Buddhist, and it's just true for actually any major religion. Not just that that we, the whole point of the adversities that we grow and change and elevate spiritually, learn how to love ourselves and others better, blah 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 blah. We're talking about self-inflicted suffering. Kind of basically falls into the unnecessary category, right? So one is conditioning. So when people have sort of grown used to not being treated well, they grew up in a dysfunctional family, might have been a large dose of addiction there. Typically when there's addiction, you're basking, doing the backstroke and shame, like I had growing up as well, and you can say that. So remember, shame means as opposed to guilt. Guilt says I made a mistake. Shame says I am the mistake, right? So that means shame is feelings of being flawed and defective, not enough, damaged goods, broken. So whether you grew up in an addicted family or not, or it's dysfunctional in other ways, or there was tons of mental illness, or a moderate amount of mental illness, or a little bit of mental illness, or things that just happen, losing a parent young, losing a sibling young, there's a gazillion different things we could rattle off that happen, but we can become used to become used to suffering because we've been kind of taught that. We learned it, for lack of a better way to say it. Okay, next, and this kind of attached to the first one. It's that little allergy thing going on. Plus, it's a fog outside is can be related to that. Is when people become conditioned to kind of inflict suffering or hang on to, either bringing it on or hanging on to old past pain, right? That's the unnecessary part. It's already over. We don't have to hang on to that anymore. Like I said, life throws curveballs. We got to deal with that, but it's completely unnecessary to hang on to old stuff. So sometimes when people are conditioned, they can also learn to, because brain loves patterns, right? Can learn to identify with that pain. Because it's, I went through this and that and that and this, and I was bounced into 6 different foster homes. Not saying that's fun, of course it isn't. But people tend to, it becomes part of their identity, part of who they are, which makes it really tough to let go of when we have, sort of allowed it into the living room to set up camp on the couch with the feet up and watching this flat screen and eating all your snacks in the fridge. It kind of moved in. So we have conditioning, we have identity. And then these can be related. Also, self-punishment is another one. And so, just like Dr. Phil said years ago, we as human beings do not do anything unless there's payoff in it. So most people think of positive things, like let's think of a paycheck. If we have a hot fudge sundae, the payoff is it tastes really good. If we go running, the payoff is we feel really good. If we work hard to get a nice sleeping pattern, we wake up refreshed, that sort of thing. So it's often, and most often, positive. However, We can also get payoff from gossiping, which is that immediate feel-good thing, which has a half-life, right? 'Cause we feel good in that moment, kind of joining forces, the us-them thing, and then we feel like we're in, and they're over there, and it's like a wall, and like we feel like, ooh, we're all together on this. And then it has a half-life, so we end up feeling crap about ourselves because it's not a nice thing to do. But it still does have payoff, or we wouldn't continue to do it, right? So the self-punishment thing is actually a super common way that we seek out payoff, because when we're used to not being treated well, we learn to not treat ourselves well, and most of the time we're not even aware of it. Until it comes into consciousness, we're going to continue to do it. So it's kind of like a that'll teach me, which is why people self-sabotage. They don't even know why. They're in a relationship, this person is super, this person has, they feel happy being around this person, they feel their best self being around this person, but maybe they're so uncomfortable feeling happy because they were used to feeling miserable and not being treated well, that they unconsciously screw it up because they underneath it all don't feel that they are worthy of somebody so awesome. So that's what we're talking about. Self-sabotage fits under self-punishment. It's inflicting, pain on ourselves, basically. When we abandon ourselves in conversations, we know what we believe, but we, jump in with other people to get their approval. And that's also punishing ourselves. That has a half-life. Like I didn't mean to say, I didn't want to say all that stuff. It's all crap. I don't even believe that. Or I jumped in on, trashing somebody, like I said earlier. It's all forms of self-punishment, self-sabotage right at the top. So this is because when we're engaging in self-punishment of any kind, there's all little branches. If self-punishment is the umbrella, right? We have self-sabotage. We have all these different ways. Eating disorders, that's all more complicated than that, right? It's not just that simple. However, under these ways we're harming ourselves or engaging in reckless behavior, whether it's like teenagers, and teenagers are often doing risky behavior anyway, but this is like another level, it's deeper. Really unhealthy, drag racing up and over hills, things like that. That's looking for disaster, and that is a form of self-punishment too. The reckless behavior thing, drugs, and scary bad sex. And I don't even mean but risky sex. Teenagers are often doing risky sex, but I mean really like self-abusive, even like a whole nother level, you know what I mean? So that all falls under the same category, and that's because there's an underlying shame there, where it can be teenager, young adult, older adult, because the pattern is going to continue until the work is done in here, mind and heart, right? And so that underlying shame of being flawed, defective, not enough, not worthy, not deserving of the partner, not deserving of the house, not deserving of the promotion, not deserving of having a savings account, so somebody who keeps destroying themselves financially because unconsciously they're trying to rub themselves out because a parent told them early on that things have been easier without them or whatever. All that stuff's related. So we're talking about, remember, back to the main theme, is deciding not to suffer anymore. So far we have the 4 ways. We are conditioned to learn to bring suffering on again from the past. We have wrapped it up into our identity. We are using it as a form of self-punishment. And then there's a power thing sometimes, which is a little complicated, but it especially happens when it's anger. And it can even be anger at somebody who's dead. And I've seen this, my real common example of this is back when I was therapizing a millennium ago in the early 90s. Sometimes I would, have clients do journal work. Let's say they grew up in an addicted household and the dad or mom or whomever was a raving drunk and said all kinds of bad things, and then also not did good things, like not showing up and stuff, saying they were and then didn't, and embarrassing them in front of friends and their teenagers. Figure it out, by putting whatever you want in the blank. An older siblings when they're 8, taking care of a younger sibling by making lunch, blah 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 blah. So they're angry, they're really pissed, and so they can punish themselves too. And it feels powerful because it feels like they've taken control because they're so angry, and angry is such an illusion in that sense as far as the power thing, because anger actually robs us of power. And the thing is, I want to stay with me just a second because I had a little detour, because it's important to me that I sort of say that anger also has a job. Anger is not always bad. Anger is labeled as so bad. Think of the animal kingdom, the non-human animal kingdom. Think of when, a wolf tribe, somebody violates one of the wolves, or, somehow they get angry, or, there's a mama, where we live, there's a lot of bear. They're vegetarians. Black bears are vegetarians. You don't really need to worry unless you come up to a mama with cubs. And she's going to get really pissed if you go near her cubs. Well, she should, because you're a potential threat. So the whole thing with anger is it does have a job. It says, back the hell up. You're too close, right? And fill in the blank with that. It might be your political views, your religious views. Somebody says something badly about your best friend. Somebody cheated on your best friend. I hope you're angry, right? So it's not that anger is bad. It's that hanging on to anger is bad. It's kind of like catch and release fishing. Not that I had a huge fishing experience, but back when I was younger, I used to go fishing, and we out in the Midwest, and they had bullheads in this lake. I think they're like little mini catfish, and they were prickly, and they're like little razor blade shark skin, but they tasted great when you fried them up in flour and salt and pepper. But anyway, they were really prickly little stinger things. And so a lot of times, because the lake was overpopulated, we would catch what we wanted, and eventually we would just throw them back. So it's kind of like with anger. You kind of want to feel that prickly little catfish with the razor blades, sandpaper skin, little razor, and then the pricklies that they had on the side, and feel it till you're sick of you're sick of that anger. You're sick of as they say in the 12-step program, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It means you're sick of listening to yourself. And as you massage it, feel it. To feel is to heal, but don't reside there and then throw it back. And then hopefully you'll have a catharsis, which is Greek for release. When you finally release. So anger, I did just do a little sidetrack because I don't want you to leave thinking that anger's bad, because a lot of people think anger's only bad. Anger's only bad when it's not worked through and held onto. And again, this is the delusional or delusional, well, it's both, delusion or illusion part, is that it can make us powerful. But again, it's got that half-life thing, because it's not really powerful. It's taking. Again, that person can be dead. How can they take more from you unless you allow it? It's just like that. Okay, so here it comes down to a decision, because lots of people, with whatever it is deciding, we walk around making decisions every day. We make active decisions and we make passive decisions. So obviously, the active decisions are the best because we're in the driver's seat there. I am choosing to eat that chicken salad instead of, grilled chicken salad instead of said fried thing. I am choosing to go to the movies with this person. I'm choosing to take an hour for myself for a walk, to exercise. I'm choosing actively. When we make passive choices, it's, I really don't want to call. I don't want to cancel that appointment. I don't want to do it. And then it blows up and the dentist doesn't want to see you for 8 months because you didn't bother to call when they've got a waiting list or whatever. Things, or I don't know, paying a bill, that you can fill that in. But we will just passively let things blow up, or passively canceling with a person, and then they don't want to do stuff with us anymore. So we need to make a conscious choice to decide not to suffer anymore as far as unnecessary suffering. Again, we can't control what gets thrown at us later. We can absolutely control our thinking over what's already happened. So instead, focus on flipping the script on this thing. So the anti-venom for shame, that feeling of being flawed, defective, unworthy of love and relationships and the promotions and the job and the house and the whatever, all of that, the anti-venom for that is love. So in order to learn, if you're really on the big, just starting out, like a little grasshopper with self-love, because maybe you got a lot of bad messages in your past, you want to really start to cherry pick who you hang out with really well, which is true for any of us actually. But surround yourself with people who are positive, who value themselves. Because they value themselves, they're naturally going to mirror value for you. I know that for a fact, because thankfully the angels in my life, I had that when I didn't know my worthiness. I had so many really good people all through St. Mike's and also my rooftop friend growing up, and I've had so many people that, and I'm telling you, we become who we hang out with. They just rub off. So surround yourself with good vibes who love themselves. And also, when we make this conscious decision, when we decide not to suffer anymore, 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 when we decide not to suffer an We also need to also set the bar to our best, because if you've had a pattern for a really long time of punishing yourself and sabotaging yourself and all this stuff, you want to set the bar to your best, because your brain's kind of used to that. It's not like you can, and then it's like better tomorrow, right? So it might be better tomorrow, but it's not going to be gone tomorrow. So if you start to slide back into it, be patient. This is the challenge. This is like, challenge yourself with this self-compassion thing. Like, oh, there I went again. I was in that conversation with these people. They were wonderful. And I found myself, I said a self-deprecating thing. I covered it up, but I knew I did it. Okay, note to self. You caught yourself. Awesome. You caught yourself saying something in a conversation that probably made other people uncomfortable. Because self-deprecating makes others uncomfortable, right? But you caught it. So you just do a yay, good for me. And then you just decide that even if it rains on your parade in whatever way in life from here on forward, you're going to decide that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're not going to add mounds of stuff to the stuff you're working on letting go of now. You're going to decide not to suffer anymore. Even if something happens, though it's a tough sell, you know that you'll be okay and that you're going to grow from it. It's a tough sell when you're in the mud, but as I say, the only way out is through. Deciding to not suffer anymore is the biggest, hugest step to just being free of all the junk and crap that's in here. Because once we get free of all the junk and crap that's in here, we are free to be our highest vibe selves. We just had created all this white space like a computer. We'd have, the resentments and the guilt and the regret and all the anger and all the whatever. It's just gone. And it's the best thing ever. And Dr. Jakes says this. He's also in our friends group with Oprah. And I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't plan it. But he says something like, when we hold on to our history, so we're going to do brackets with suffering, right? When we hold on to our history, this is at the expense of our destiny. And then my dear friend Oprah, who doesn't know we're such closies, does like, oh, that's a pump moment. So when we hang on to our history, we do this at the expense of our destiny. Because think about it. Just like when your computer is filled up with all kinds of viruses and stuff, it goes like you get the circle, it goes slowly, because it's all filled up. It's all filled up. And so we need to just decide not to suffer anymore. You're not going to, regardless of the condition, here's the 4. Conditioning, making it part of your identity, part of punishing yourself, and it's a power thing. Those 4 things are very, very unhealthy when it comes to past suffering. So I feel like I want to sing the theme song for Let It Go. All right, decide not to suffer anymore. Decide it today. It's Kimberly Quinn signing off from my kitchen in Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.